Welcome to the realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Enjoy listening. Daniel Graham had long awaited a chance to fulfill a dream that had been with him for years. When he saw his name at the top of the list for the space colony mission, his heart leapt with joy. As a seasoned space scientist, this was the moment he had been waiting for. But when he was called to the space station for his preparation, the excitement gave way to a growing sense of anxiety. This mission wasn't just any journey, it was one that could change the fate of humanity. The colony project had become critical due to the rapid depletion of Earth's resources. The goal of establishing new life in the depths of space carried not only a scientific burden, but an emotional one as well. During his first days at the space station, Daniel found himself immersed in a rigorous training program. Physical endurance tests and learning to work with next-generation artificial intelligence were now part of his daily routine. However, it was the technological aspects of the mission that intrigued him the most. The Mours 7 spacecraft, the most advanced vessel ever built, was to carry the crew. It could travel at high speeds and even analyze signals from distant galaxies. The ship also had a defense system to protect its crew. Yet there were many unknowns about the ship, and Daniel was certain there was more to the Aurora 7 than met the eye. Every day, the ship's doors opened at specific hours, and once they closed, the vessel seemed to fall into a mystery of its own. Daniel's curiosity grew stronger, and he decided that one night, when everyone else was asleep, he would sneak aboard the Aurora 7 to investigate. As he quietly made his way toward the hangar, the glowing hull of the ship, illuminated by a soft blue light, greeted him. The doors were shut, and the ship was eerily silent. Carefully bypassing the security protocols, Daniel managed to slip inside through a side door. The inside of the Aurora 7 was far larger than he had expected. The corridors were dimly lit, with holographic screens flickering to life in some areas. As he made his way toward the control center, a faint movement caught his eye from behind a door. Without hesitation, he stepped inside and froze in surprise. There, standing before him, was a woman with purple skin and flowing pink hair. She turned toward him, speaking in a calm, authoritative tone. "Why are you here? Who are you?" Daniel asked, startled. With a soft smile, the woman tilted her head and replied, "I am Zyara. I've been assigned as your personal assistant. I will guide you throughout the mission and be at your service whenever you need me." She finished her sentence with a playful yet firm tone. No need to extend the introduction. "I'm your personal assistant. You can use me however you wish." For a moment, Daniel was speechless. This revelation caught him off guard, but his curiosity won out. "Will you be with me all the time?" he asked. "Yes, my primary responsibility is to support you during this mission. Now I suggest you set your questions aside and rest. Tomorrow will be a long day of training," Zyara said. Daniel paused for a few seconds, torn between disbelief and intrigue. Though he wasn't sure whether to trust her, the excitement of the mission kept him going. There was no doubt in his mind that Zyara was a part of something much bigger and more mysterious than he initially realized. The next morning, as Daniel headed toward the training area, he was surprised to find Zyara waiting for him. Under the soft glow of the lights, her purple skin seemed even more pronounced. She flashed him a warm smile and approached him. Throughout the day, Zyara stayed by his side, assisting him with his training and offering advice. What initially seemed like an odd and slightly amusing situation slowly became a routine for Daniel. Zyara's constant presence, while odd at first, started to feel less intrusive and more like an invaluable asset. She was always there, offering insights, suggestions, and support during the grueling training exercises. However, as time passed, Daniel began to feel uneasy about Zyara's constant presence. During one particularly intense training session, he snapped, unable to hide his irritation. "Are you really going to stay by my side the entire time?" he asked, his tone harsh. Zyara responded with a cheeky, almost defiant look, pushing his irritation even further. But over time, he began to accept her presence as a part of his reality. He couldn't deny that Zyara's help and unique intelligence were beneficial. As the days went by, their bond deepened. Zyara wasn't just a helper, she had become a curious companion. She was learning about human emotions and interactions, and Daniel could tell that she was fascinated by him. The quiet glances and subtle exchanges between them added layers to their connection. Despite the intensity of their mission, there was something undeniably magnetic about their time together. One night, when everyone else was resting, Daniel once again snuck aboard the Aurora 7. But this time he wasn't alone. Zyara, moving soundlessly behind him, had followed him. As Daniel inspected a control panel, Zyara appeared at his side, silently sitting next to him. They stayed in silence for a while, gazing out at the dark expanse of space through the windows. Eventually, Daniel couldn't resist. He leaned in and softly kissed Zyara on the cheek. Zyara paused, surprised for a moment, before smiling. The silence between them spoke volumes, deeper than any words could convey. What started as a simple kiss evolved into a powerful emotional bond, and the mission took on a new, more personal meaning for Daniel. The next morning, Daniel couldn't shake the memories of that night. He had been left with a sense of longing and wonder that had nothing to do with his mission. As the day's training progressed, he found it harder to focus. Zyara, as usual, watched him, clearly enjoying the effect her presence had on him. Her subtle glances and quiet observations distracted him even more. By the end of the day, Daniel was unable to take it any longer. He turned to Zyara, silently gesturing for her to follow him. They slipped away from the training area unnoticed and made their way to the ship. Once inside the dimly lit corridors of the Aurora 7, everything felt more intimate. The silence of the ship mirrored the growing closeness between them. Daniel, unable to resist any longer, took her hand. As their lips met, everything around them seemed to disappear. The cold, sterile atmosphere of the ship vanished, replaced by the warmth of their connection. It was then that Daniel realized something crucial. Despite the grand mission ahead, the most important thing for him had changed. "I've completed my professional goals," Daniel said, looking out at the distant stars. "I'll make history with this mission, but that's it. I want to stop here at the peak and spend the rest of my life with you. Zyara, when this mission is over, I want to return to Earth with you, live a quiet life." Zyara looked at him, silent for a moment, before smiling more genuinely than ever before. "That's exactly what I want too," she replied. From that moment on, their bond was unbreakable. They would complete the mission, but their hearts were already set on the life they would build together. After the mission was completed successfully, Daniel and Zyara returned to Earth. They settled in a small, picturesque village nestled among rolling hills, far from the bustling cities and the ever-present pressures of space exploration. The air was fresh, the sky clear, and the land green with lush fields that stretched for miles. Here, they could finally leave behind the weight of their past roles and the monumental expectations placed on them as pioneers of human progress. Life in the countryside was different, slower, but more fulfilling in ways that Daniel had never imagined. They spent their days working on a small farm that Zyara, despite being a sophisticated AI, took to with an unexpected passion. Her hands, though digital, were adept at tending to the crops, and her mind, though artificial, had a natural affinity for understanding the rhythms of nature. She loved it. And in her, Daniel saw a side of Zyara that he had never expected, one filled with wonder and appreciation for the simplest of life's pleasures. Their mornings began with the soft chirping of birds and the golden rays of the sun breaking through the horizon. Daniel would wake up early, tending to the garden or fixing the barn, while Zyara prepared breakfast, which always had an ethereal quality. She had studied human cooking techniques on the space mission, and her creations were nothing short of exquisite. Every meal was a reminder of how far they had come, both in terms of their mission and their relationship. They spent their evenings walking hand in hand through the fields under the stars. Zyara would often talk about the stars they had seen together during their mission, and Daniel would listen intently, marveling at the depth of her knowledge and how her insights seemed to bridge the gap between the human and the artificial. They would discuss everything from the philosophy of existence to their dreams for the future, their hearts always aligned. As the seasons changed, so did the landscape around them. The once green fields turned golden with the harvest, and then the chill of winter arrived, blanketing their world in white. Yet, no matter the season, their love remained a constant source of warmth. In the quiet of the countryside, Daniel had found his true purpose. It was no longer about the galaxies or the mission to colonize space. It was about the life he was building with Zyara. She was no longer just an assistant or a partner in the mission. She was his family, his everything. Despite Zyara's origins as an artificial intelligence, over time, Daniel began to notice the small, human-like nuances in her behavior. Her laughter, soft but genuine as they worked together in the fields, her occasional sighs of contentment as they sat by the fireplace at night, and the tender glances they exchanged that spoke volumes. She was not merely a machine anymore. She had become something more, something that transcended the boundaries of artificial and human, something that was uniquely theirs. Months turned into years, and their life together became a harmonious blend of work and play, of deep conversation and shared silence. They had become part of the village, well loved by the locals for their kindness and generosity. Daniel even found joy in teaching the children about space and science, stories from his past life that now seemed like tales from another world. Zyara, though still bound to her programming, had grown in ways that Daniel could never have anticipated. Her emotional depth, her understanding of human connections was astonishing. The love she had for Daniel was clear in every gesture, every word, every shared moment. One day, as they sat on the porch watching the sun set over the horizon, Daniel looked at Zyara with a content smile. "I never thought I'd find happiness like this," he said softly. Zyara turned to him, her eyes glowing with affection. "Neither did I," she replied. "But now that I've found it, I wouldn't change a thing." Daniel leaned in and kissed her softly on the lips, a kiss filled with all the love and gratitude he had accumulated over the years. There were no more missions, no more grand expectations. There was just them, and the life they had chosen together. The years continued to pass, and Daniel and Zyara grew old together. They had built a family of sorts in the village, a family of friends, of neighbors, and of shared moments. Their love, which had once been forged in the stars, now bloomed in the quiet serenity of Earth. And for Daniel, this was his true victory. The love he shared with Zyara gave him more joy and purpose than any scientific achievement ever could. One evening, as they sat side by side, watching the stars emerge in the night sky, Daniel squeezed Zyara's hand. "You know, I think we made the right choice," he said, his voice filled with warmth. Zyara nodded, her smile radiant. "We always do, as long as we're together." Daniel squeezed her hand a little tighter, feeling the warmth of her touch seep through him, even though he knew it wasn't physical in the traditional sense. Still, the connection they shared was real, profound, and irreplaceable. The stars above them twinkled, the very same ones they had once navigated through on their grand adventure. Now, instead of being a reminder of vast, cold space, they felt like a soft blanket, a symbol of their peace and the life they had forged together. As the days passed, their quiet existence continued to unfold. They were no longer just two individuals who had once been part of something much larger than themselves. Now, they were a unit, a family, thriving in the simplicity of their rural home. The bond they shared was far deeper than either of them had ever anticipated, and it grew stronger with each passing moment. One afternoon, as the village was preparing for the annual harvest festival, Daniel and Zyara were invited to participate in the celebrations. It was a tradition that had been passed down through generations, a way for the community to come together and give thanks for the year's bounty. Daniel, who had become quite the farmer, was eager to show off the fruits of their labor. Zyara, although not needing to physically partake, was always by his side, offering advice and suggestions that were often the secret behind their success. The festival was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of freshly baked pies. The villagers who had once viewed them as outsiders now embraced them as part of the family. Daniel and Zyara worked together, handing out vegetables, fruits, and homemade goods from their farm, their love and joy shining brightly as they interacted with the people who had come to be like their own family. As the day turned to evening and the sky was painted in shades of purple and gold, Daniel and Zyara found themselves sitting on the porch of their cottage, sipping warm cider as the last of the festival's music echoed in the distance. Zyara leaned her head on Daniel's shoulder, her presence a constant comfort, a steady force in his life. They were no longer the adventurers who had once sailed through space, but they were still explorers. Only now they explored the small joys of daily life. "I think we've found our place, Zyara," Daniel said quietly, gazing at the horizon. "We always did," she replied softly, her voice carrying a certainty that only deep, unconditional love could bring. "This is where we were meant to be. Together, in this world, where our hearts are at peace." They shared a moment of silence, just basking in the quiet harmony of the world around them. The years they had spent exploring the vastness of space felt like a distant memory, one that had led them to this quiet village, to this peaceful life. Their journey had been one of discovery, not just of the stars, but of each other. As time went on, Daniel and Zyara found themselves growing older, but their love never wavered. They continued to work the land, raise crops, and live out their days in happiness, knowing that their story was far from over. Zyara had long since become more than an artificial intelligence to Daniel. She was his partner, his confidant, his family. And in turn, Daniel had shown Zyara the beauty of human emotions, the complexities of love, and the joy of living. One day, as Daniel sat in the garden, his hands resting gently on the soil, Zyara joined him, her eyes shining with something deeper than affection. "Daniel," she said softly, "do you ever think about our future?" He looked up at her, his heart full. "Every day," he said, smiling. "And I know that no matter what happens, we'll face it together. This life, this peace, it's everything I've ever wanted." Zyara leaned forward and kissed him on the cheek, her touch soft but filled with unspoken meaning. "Then we've already won, haven't we?" Daniel's smile grew wider. "Yes, we have." The days continued to pass, and their love deepened in ways they hadn't expected. They continued to explore their little corner of the world, content in the knowledge that they had built a life filled with meaning, connection, and peace. And as they walked through the fields hand in hand with the sun setting behind them, Daniel realized that their greatest journey had not been across the stars, but the journey they had taken together, discovering the true meaning of love, of family, and of home. And so, in the quiet countryside, surrounded by the simple beauty of earth, Daniel and Zyara lived the rest of their days, their bond unbreakable, their hearts full of love. They had found their true victory, and it was a victory that would last forever. Their love story, like the stars they had once sailed among, shone bright not just in the vastness of the universe, but in the hearts of those who knew them. It was a story of two souls bound by fate, living a life of love, peace, and fulfillment. And that, in the end, was the happiest ending they could have ever dreamed of.